So just to sum up some of the questions from the break was one question that couldn't you just create the function you need into the map here? Yeah, of course you can do that. The problem with that is that then you have to create a new function for each of the maps you want to make. So you have map square, map +1, map +2, map plus. So of course if you only have, you need one. Makes sense to make that single map, but the nice part here and what we are aiming for is this abstraction, so we can generalize it. So you can now have a generalized map function that can map an integer array into any other integer array. You just name it and you can do it. So you can type, +5 -5 divided by 27. Probably not, because it will just be zeros because it's just integers in return. But anyway, so it will always be able to return an integer array. So that's the nice part. So you have one function that can do all the stuff you need. That's the purpose of Lambda and delegates. The idea of abstraction. So we are moving to a higher level of abstraction, so we can do more with the same piece of code, but just changing the input. I know this is difficult. I know you have to get your head around it, understand it, and if you haven't done any functional programming before, it's hard. But we will be doing this all the time from now on to the course is ending, because later on we switch to JavaScript, and JavaScript is using functions all over the place. So eventually you will get it. So,
short question?
Yeah, absolutely.
What was it you said before about the predicate and function?
Just that there's a so this one is true, that if you make a function that takes an input as something as an input and return a boolean, it's the same as the predicate. So you can do this in both ways. So what I was saying is that internally inside C# they use this one instead of this one. So they're using the func more than using the predicate.
Okay.
So you will not see predicate used that much if you look into C# code. It will be func with the boolean. So somehow it's deprecated this one. They don't use it because it was smart when they introduced it, but they later on found out that it also was in the way, because it's easier just to have one single type and not switching into another one. So you need to have this one actually, because you cannot. One thing you can't do with the we'll talk about that in a moment about generics is actually to have void as a type. It's not legal in the so it's not possible to do this one by saying string comma void here. String comma void is not possible. So you need that one. But you can live without that one because this is more general. So that's the point. The expression method, it's rather simple. So the idea is the concept is simple, and so you just have to get around the syntax. But it's not that. I don't think it's a big deal. Link is using extension method. Link is just extension method. That's the nice part. Link is just a set of method that is extending this type here, the I enumerable of T. That's a generic sequence. So it's a sequence of whatever type you like it to be, and it's actually that type that is extended by link. So anything that can be a sequence of something, you can use link on that. That's the nice abstraction. So you don't have to write one for integer arrays and for integer lists and integer maps and or directories and so on. So that's the nice part. So this is the code, how you do it. So you make a static class. And inside that static class, you have a static method, and in that method you define the first argument with this. That means that's what you are. This is the type that you want to extend. We want to extend string. So we want actually to add a new method to string. So we're extending the type string with a new method, so whenever I call this on a string, so it just doesn't take any arguments other than the string itself, it will do this trick here. And the trick is this string can join. On string, you have a function that is defined. It's called join, and you can join any array into a string with some delimiter. In this case, the delimiter is empty. So what I do is I translate I translate the string into an array. So that would mean I get a normal array. Array have a reverse operator, so I can reverse the order of the array, and then I translate it back to a string again by joining each element in that array into a string. So a little bit tricky to do it because there's no reverse on the string itself. You cannot just reverse the string, so you have to either write the code yourself by looping through and then do whatever it takes to reverse it, or you could use what's in there, and that's just translating the string into an array and reverse the array and translate that array back again to a string. Make sense? So a string is a type. An array of character is not a string. It's that's an array of character, and that's what I'm doing here. I'm translating the string into an array of characters and then reverse it, and then translate it back to a string again. That's not a big point. This is the big point. Here's a string, and I can say dot reverse, calling my function. I just extended the string. That's pretty nice. Use it all the time when I'm programming C#. Because if I have something complicated I want to do, it's much clearer. It's easier to read this than it will be to. I could have called a function that could reverse a string, a static function like this one. I could actually have called this reverse here with a string and then get the same output. But this is nicer. It reads better. It's more like you expect it to be if it actually had this function. Yes, please.
How come you use static function, but
It is because so why this is a static
I
function?
mean it has string as input, but where it has no input and it's called on the object.
Yeah. That's because the compiler, when the compiler see this one, what the compiler will do whenever it see everything is an object inside C#, also an integer and so on. So a string is of course an object. What it will do, it will say, okay, you're calling a function on this, a method on this object here. Let me look up the class of string. Oh, there's no reverse on that string. Yeah, okay, that's fine. We could stop there. But C# will not stop there. It will say, could it be the case that I can find an extension I can use instead? Then we'll look, here's an extension, because if I take this one and call that extension method with this guy here, I suddenly have this reverse thing and I can solve the problem. And then the compiler will translate this statement into actually to the statement where it calls my extension dot reverse with hello and take the output. So instead of writing that clumsy way, you can do this. So the compiler will first look for methods on the object. If it can't find it there, it will look if there is an extension, and of course the extension needs to be part of the assembly. And if that's the case, it will use that. If that's not the case, you get an error from the compiler. Couldn't find that method. You look like somebody just pulled you in. But should we do an example of that?
Aren't you overriding the reverse?
No, there is no reverse on string.
Okay.
String doesn't have a reverse. what would be the case if there was a reverse on the string? Yeah.
All will be reversed, of course. All the will be the final result.
Yeah. So you have two possibilities from the compiler. Either it will complain because you already have that, or it will just say that you have two different functions. One that is the one that defined on the object, and one that is the extended, and then it will call the object one first. It will look through the object first. But I assume you will. I don't know if you get an error. I don't think so. Let's try it. Let's try it. So let's make another project here. I can just add to this solution a new project, and it should be a console application, and I can just give it a name. So just extension method. So now, as you can see, I have two different projects inside the same. I don't want. So you can see one of them is bolded. That means that's the one that will be executed when I press this one, run this one here, or if I say Control F5, I will run the one that is bold. If I want to change which one should be run, I can go here and say set the starter project. Of course, this is not something that you can do on Visual Studio Code, because you have to. But you can move around, because you can just jump into another folder and then decide where you will actually do the .NET run. But now you can see that this one is highlighted now, and you can see it changed up here also to this one. So if I press Control F5, I will execute this one, and it doesn't do anything because it's into the main. Let's make a static class my extension, and in there we'll make a static string something like this. What's the problem? It's only thing needs to be public. But what is? Oh, it needs to be outside. I created this class inside the other class. It needs to be a class by itself here. Sorry. So the only thing it's the problem now is to return something. If you can't get messy, you can do Control K, Control D, and then we'll Control K, Control D will actually reformat the page. So if I have this one over here, and I say Control K, Control D, will actually reorganize the page. So this is just an extension method that doesn't do anything at all. So I just return this. So don't do anything with this. I just return that. So if I want to call that, I can do that in two different ways. So first I will make a s here that's equal hello, and then I can say s reverse. That's one way to call it. So this is only possible because I have this one up here. If I uncomment this or rename that to whatever, now you can see that this one is fake because it doesn't have. There's no way the compiler can find that function. It's not inside the set of methods, and it's not inside the extension. So it will fail. So what about something that it already have? So is that a contains. So, and it takes something, a string here, so I just wanted to see what happens if I make a contains, something that's already inside the string. If I make that here, so I change that into contains, and it should take an argument. So that's the argument is what I want it to contain. So I just do like this, and it should probably return boolean here. To be completely, it's the same as the other contain. Just move this one over here. And so now it says something about that it have a problem here with tree overloads. Just see if it can run here. Or is it possible to? Yeah, it actually do. Just choose the one on the object, I think, first. Yeah.
You could check by making the contains the one you make do the opposite result. You can see which one uses them.
Yeah. So we can see this one. So we can say CW. So I want to. So right now it should say yes if it calls the one inside the. So say true. Okay, I can go up here and say false on this one. And then see. It's still good. So it will call the one on the object. Makes sense. That's the one closest to the object. But just want to show you. Let's just go back to the reverse here, because that was the starting point. The reason for not doing something here is not interesting what we are doing inside that function. But right now we're talking about how to call it. So here we can just do reverse here, and it should just send out the same name. So hello. Just to be sure that it's actually working, we can do a to upper on it. So we return the uppercase just to see that it's actually executing. So you see now it's actually I'm calling my extension method. It's working. So another way to do that, to call the same method, not using the compiler's way of doing it, will be to do something like my extension dot reverse on s. So it will be. I can also call it like this. So that's the normal way of calling a static method. That's what the compiler will translate the other call into. Exactly this call here. But this is a clumsy way. It looks ugly. You have to do that in front of, and you will see it will be very weird when we go to tooling. So this one will give you the same output. So it's just a normal static function that you can call. The only trick is if you put this on the first argument,